In this age of new normal, online is not your only option. Because new normal means new learning modalities and new learning possibilities. Let Vibal make learning offline possible with Smart Class. Smart Class contains pre-made daily modules sequenced according to DepEd's budgeted teaching and learning calendar. Each module has a specific lesson duration and has day markers to guide parents and teachers in the asynchronous learning of learners. Inside the modules available in Smart Class, you will find the following elements. First, learning competencies are identified in the module openers. Kickstarters are available to test students' prior knowledge on the subject matter. This set of activities, found at the beginning of each lesson, may also serve as motivational activities. Parents of preschool to grade 2 students will also find notes to parents which contain tips and pointers on how they can guide their child while learning at home. Redefine your students' learning experience with the integration of augmented reality technology into images and illustrations available in Smart Class, making learning more interactive and exciting. At the end of each module, Long Quiz is also available to assess students' understanding of the lesson. Smart Class also features Wrap Up, a lesson ender activity that applies the constructivism theory of learning. In Wrap Up, students are expected to summarize the lesson on their own using a graphic organizer. You may also evaluate the quality of your students' learning by letting them practice their learning in real life through GRASP's formatted performance tasks. The content of Smart Class is designed for the entire academic year, and it is available for 5 major subjects. All aligned with DepEd's K-12 curriculum and covers the most essential learning competencies prescribed by DepEd. Secure your own copy of Smart Class before classes open. Contact marketing@vibalgroup.com to know more.
Good day, Kavibal, and welcome to our Learn at Home FB Live session. For the discussion today, the topic will be on gaining perspective on reading. Before we begin, take note of the following reminders. Make sure you are registered to the webinar to have your e-certificate of participation. Visit certificate.vibalgroup.com to generate your proof of attendance. Place your questions on the comment box allotted during the session and they will be addressed by our speaker later on. Share the video using hashtag LearnAsOnePH as our official hashtag to our Vibal webinars. Experience learning, ka-Vibal? And now, to proceed with our webinar this evening, it is my pleasure to introduce to you our distinguished speaker today. Mr. Arvin Lu Abaday One is a graduate of Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in English at Stella Maris College, Oroquieta City. He took Master of Arts in Education Management at Misamis University. He is also a fellow of Fulbright International Leaders in Education program from January 2018 to May 2018 at Kent State University, Ohio, United States of America. Currently, he is a high school English teacher at Stella Maris College, Oroquieta City. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Arvin Lu Abaday Ones.
Thank you so much. There you go. There you go. So thank you so much, Miss Jillian, for your very warm welcome and for your generous introduction. Gusto ko lang pong linawin, I am currently teaching at Bunga National High School po. Previous school ko po yung Stella Maris College. Okay, so currently I am a teacher 3 at Bunga National High School, Division of Oroquieta City, Misamis Occidental, Northern Mindanao, Region 10. So again, welcome to another webinar series brought to us by Vibal Group. This is Vibal's Learn at Home series aired via Facebook Live every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 7 to 8 p.m. So, Learn at Home po yung series natin na ginagawa ngayon with Vibal Group, of course. So again, thank you so much, Vibal, for having me again on this webinar series. So, for those who are streaming live with me right now, once again, I am Mr. Arvin Lu II Abaday Onyes from Oroquieta City. I am a teacher right now at Bunga National High School in the Division of Oroquieta City, Misamis Occidental, Region 10, Northern Mindanao. So, tonight's sharing would be about gaining perspective on reading. Gaining perspective on reading, we will talk more why I came up with this specific title for this night's webinar. But before that one, sharings that I would be sharing to you tonight is not in touch or aligned with any other departments, especially Department of Education. So kung ano po yung share ko ngayon, it would be based on my personal reading on the book entitled Lenses on Reading by Diane Tracy and Leslie Mandel Morrow, English Club, Reading Rockets org, and the PDST or the Professional Development Service for Teachers. Ayun po. So let us begin by talking about gaining perspective on reading. So what is this gaining perspective on reading? Let us first define what is gaining. When we talk about gaining, ladies and gentlemen, we talk about increasing. To increase, to acquire additional information. We gain perspective. We acquire additional perspective. So what do we mean by perspective? Perspective means viewpoints, attitude, our outlook. Ano po yung pagtanaw natin? Pagtatanaw saan, Sir Arvin? Tungkol sa reading. So tonight, we aim to gain more outlook, to gain more viewpoint, how reading is actually playing on the minds of the learners. Bakit ang dami pa ring mga bata dito sa Pilipinas na hindi pa rin marunong magbasa? So we will talk about that one. Tonight, we aim to gain perspectives on reading. And with that said, it is righteous to begin my presentation with the definition of reading. So ano ba ang reading? When we talk of reading, ladies and gentlemen, it is the process of looking at series of written symbols and getting meaning from them. Take note po, I would like to reiterate, I would like to emphasize that reading is a process. Hindi po one-shot deal ang reading. Ang reading po ay isa pong proseso na dapat himay-himayin natin that we have to undergo properly in order to teach the child how to become independent readers someday. Again, reading is a process. When we read, we use our eyes to receive written symbols like letters, punctuation marks, and even spaces. Kahit spaces po, may meaning po yan sa reading. And of course, we use our brain to convert them into words, sentences, and paragraphs that communicate something to us. Isa pong proseso ang reading. By looking at the letters, the words, the punctuation marks, even spaces, the brain would process and would tell us what we have read, kung ano yung kahulugan o ibig sabihin ng mga binabasa natin. Reading can be silent. Ibig sabihin, we use our eyes and our mind only. Or reading could be aloud. Tinatawag natin yan na reading aloud. Ibig sabihin, we use our mouth so that other people can hear. Again po, on this slide deck, I would like to reiterate that reading is a process. It's not a one-shot deal. It is a process. Proseso po. And since we are talking about process of reading, ito po yung basic stages ng reading process. Ito po yung tatlong basic stages ng reading process. So stage 1, we call that one as the before reading, bago pa magbabasa yung bata. That is stage 1. Stage 2 of the reading process is what we call the during reading, yung moment na nagbabasa na yung bata. And the last stage of the reading process is what we call the after reading, pagkatapos magbasa ng bata. So let us talk about before reading, the first stage of the reading process. Before reading is actually considered as the pre-active, meaning hindi pa active yung bata. Tinatry pa natin na i-activate yung mind ng bata. It's like bago ka magpapaandar ng kotse o kaya ng motorsiklo, hindi mo yan ipapaandar kaagad. Parang hinihit mo muna yung machine niya, yung makina, bago mo yan ipapaandar. Just like the child, we do not give directly the reading materials to the children or our students and let them read automatically. The first stage of reading is what we call the pre-active, the before reading. Ano yung mga nangyayari before reading? It is during this time that we activate prior knowledge. Kasi there is a theory which tells us na magiging maganda yung daloy ng pagkatuto ng bata if we try to connect the new learning with the old learning to what is already known. We activate prior knowledge during the before reading stage. We set the purpose. Bago natin ipapabasa sa mga bata yung reading text o yung reading material, we tell them, what is the purpose of reading? Is it to inform you? Is it to entertain you? Or is it to persuade you? Marami po tayong purposes bakit natin pinapabasa yung mga bata. Another thing na mangyayari before reading is what we call the building of vocabulary. Kaya nga before tayo magbabasa o before natin pinapabasa yung mga bata natin, we unlock difficult words. As reading teachers or yung mga parents na nanonood ngayon, reading parents, we call them as reading parents. As reading teachers and as reading parents, before we let our children or our students read, siguraduhin muna natin na tayo mismo yung unang nakabasa sa story. And then as we go along with our personal reading, pupulutin natin o pipiliin natin yung mga difficult words along the way na masasabi natin na hindi ito maiintindihan ng anak ko. We choose those difficult words and then we give the definition to our learners or to our students bago natin pinapabasa sa kanila yung buong kwento. Okay, that is building vocabulary, unlocking of the difficult words. Another thing which happened before reading is what we call the making predictions. We allow our learners to give their predictions based maybe on the cover of the book, okay? Maybe on the cover of the picture book, tatanungin natin yung mga bata, what do you think would happen in the story based on the picture? No? We allow the learners to make predictions in such a way na gagana na yung mind nila. Okay? And then before reading, there is already a preview of the text. The next stage is what we call the during reading. Ano yung mga nangyayari during reading? During reading is what we call the interactive stage of reading. Nangyayari dito sa interactive stage, they read with a purpose. Alam na nila yung purpose nila eh. Okay? That is why they go along with the reading with a purpose already. And because they have this purpose established already, they connect themselves with the reading material. And that, because they connect themselves with the reading material, they already engage themselves to the author. Okay, yun yung mga nangyayari during reading. And then the last stage of the reading process is what we call the after reading o yung tinatawag natin na reflective stage. Ano yung mga nagaganap in the reflective stage? In the reflective stage, dito nagre-reflect on the reading experience. Okay? Dito natin tatanungin yung bata, ano yung mga reflection nila after mabasa yung buong kwento o yung buong text, reading material. Dito rin nangyayari sa after reading yung tinatawag natin na reread, basahin ulit. But it doesn't mean na babasahin ulit yung buong kwento o yung buong teksto. They reread on specific lines, they reread on specific paragraphs because they are going to get specific answers on the given questions after reading yan. And another thing that will happen on the after reading or the reflective stage is what we call the remembering stage. No? Dito inaalala ng mga bata kung ano yung mga nangyari doon sa daloy o buong daloy ng kwento. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this is the 3 basic stages on the reading process. Before reading or the pre-active stage, during reading or the interactive stage, and the last phase or the last stage is what we call the after reading or the reflective stage. Reading is a complex process. Hindi po simple ang pagbabasa. Reading is a complex process. And because it is complex, there are things that we need to understand. Needs to be understood with a number of components. Para maintindihan natin bakit complex ang pagbabasa, dapat maintindihan natin itong mga components, yung tinatawag natin ng mga components. Ano-ano ba itong mga components ng reading na dapat nating maintindihan? Number 1, establishment of students to become independent readers. We have to develop their vocabulary. There are research studies which reveal results that there is a positive relationship between vocabulary and reading comprehension. Another component that we need to understand is the development of phonological processes. Dapat yung bata alam niya paano ipagdugtong-dugtong yung mga letter sounds. Next, provision of comprehension strategies. Ang daming reading comprehension strategies, but we do not know that we have to classify them bago natin gamitin. Yung tinatawag natin na repertoire. Alam natin yung tinatawag natin na the repertoire of strategy. Reading. We have to acknowledge that in reading, we have to motivate our learners. We have to motivate our children to read, and that reading is an enjoyable process. Hindi natin dapat ipa-feel sa mga kabataan o yung mga anak natin o yung mga students natin that reading is a burden. We have to let them feel comfortable with reading. And the last one, there should be a renewed focus on reading fluency. Ibaling natin yung mga isipan natin that when we teach reading to our students or our children, we should focus on the reading fluency. isa po sa napakalaking factor in making or building or developing independent readers is what we call the fluency. Himay-himayin po natin yan mamaya-maya. According to the Professional Development Service for Teachers, binigay nila sa atin itong graphic organizer, components of reading. Okay? Yun yung 5. The 5 components of reading. Una, attitude and motivation. Next, reading fluency. Third, comprehension. Fourth, vocabulary. And the last one, the 5th one, is the phonological awareness or yung tinatawag din natin na phonics. We will discuss this one individually. Let us begin with the first component, which is the attitude and motivation. If we want to develop our students or our children to become independent readers, we have to acknowledge attitude and motivation. Because attitude and motivation refers to a okay? Dahil if pipilitin natin yung bata, chances are magbabasa yan pero hindi niya naiintindihan yung binabasa niya kasi nga napipilitan lang siya. Okay? Positive attitude and motivation are vital for progression in literacy and numeracy. There are 5 key ideas in understanding motivation. Ito po, mahalaga po ito. The 5 key ideas in motivation. First is relevance. Second is ownership. Third is self-efficacy. Fourth is social interaction. And the last one is mastery. We will talk this one through this table. If we affirm motivation, pag i-affirm po natin yung motivation, halimbawa, if the teacher is giving relevant text to our learners, yung binibigay natin na mga reading material sa mga bata ay yung something na relevant sa kanila o yung nakaka-relate sila. Then, there is what we call intrinsic motivation. Namomotivate yung bata na magbasa kasi nga relevant yung text na pinapabasa natin sa kanila. Meaning, they will enjoy it. They will consider the reading as fun thing to do kasi nga nakaka-relate sila. Okay? Hindi natin pwedeng o maaaring bigyan ng love story yung grade 1, no? Hindi natin maaaring ipabasa ng Wattpad yung grade 2 na bata, no? We give reading materials to our learners which are relatable on their level. Another thing is choice. Kapag yung teacher, yung practice ni teacher, binibigyan niya ng varied choices yung mga kabataan o yung mga students niya or yung mga parents, we give our children the chance to choose what reading material they would like to read. Then there is ownership, no? Sasabihin ng bata, ay babasahin ko ito kasi nga pinili ko to. Alangan naman hindi ko to babasahin, ako nagpili nito. There is a sense of ownership. It belongs to me. Yun yung masasabi ng bata. Kapag naman yung teacher, in-establish niya that there is success in reading. Bata, magbasa ka kasi kapag marunong kang magbasa, most likely or chances are magiging successful ka sa buhay mo. Then we call that one as self-efficacy. Kapag yung bata, ma-motivate natin sila that if they will read, they will be successful, then the student's mind or our children's mind would say, I can do it. I would be successful. Kasi sabi ni teacher or kasi sabi ni mama o ni papa, kapag magbabasa ako, magiging successful ako. It's a matter of motivating our students and our learners. In collaboration naman, kapag si teacher o yung parent, yung reading parent, nag-i-encourage ng collaboration, then we are developing social interaction among our learners or our children. Sasabihin ng bata, I can do it kasi may partner ako. Okay? Or magiging mas enjoyable yung reading process kasi may partner ako na magbabasa. If something na hindi ko maiintindihan, may partner naman ako na pwedeng mag-explain sa akin. That is why collaboration is very important also in motivation. The last one is the thematic units. If we give theme across content area, kasi nga, based on my previous webinars, pinaulit-ulit ko talaga na reading must be across content areas. Hindi lamang reading o binibigay natin yung reading task doon lamang sa mga language teachers, not only with the English and Filipino teachers, but when we talk about reading, it must be reading across content areas. Even if you're a mathematics teacher or science teacher or araling panlipunan teacher, it is our duty to teach reading among our learners. Diba? Hindi natin ma-expect na marunong yung bata in araling panlipunan if he or she doesn't know how to read. Paano niya nalaman yung history ng Philippines kapag hindi siya marunong magbasa? Every teacher must be a reading teacher. In that sense, if we have thematic units, then there would be mastery. Kasi nga pare-pareho ng theme eh. And then, if mayroong ganyan, if mayroong mastery, then there is a better understanding. Okay? There is a better vantage with learning new things. Paano naman if there would be no motivation o yung tinatawag natin na undermining motivation? Paano o ano yung mangyayari kapag walang motivation na ibinibigay sa mga kabataan sa pagbabasa? Well, number one, kapag walang relevance, pinapabasa lamang natin yung bata kahit hindi nila feel yung reading material, then of course, students would avoid that reading activity. Ba't ako magbabasa niyan? Hindi ko naman na-relate yung sarili ko sa reading text. No? Ba't naman ako magbabasa ng engineering books? Teacher ako. Ba't naman ako magbibigay ng time na magbabasa ng different reading materials? Hindi ko naman ma-relate yung sarili ko dyan. If it's non-relevant to myself, then I would avoid it. Okay? And chances are that the students would not enjoy it. And they would judge that reading is not fun at all. Hindi ako nakaka-relate eh. Bakit ako magiging masaya sa reading? Okay? If the teacher or the parent has excessive control, no, parang nagiging master na si teacher doon sa classroom, what would happen? Definitely, there would be low ownership kasi paragi na lang si teacher yung gusto o magde-decide kung ano yung babasahin ko. If the teacher has excessive control to our learners, then definitely the learners will have low ownership. Hindi ko babasahin yan, hindi ko naman choice yan eh. Pinilit lang naman ako ni teacher na basahin yan. O pinilit lang naman ako ni mama na basahin yan. No? We can relate that one even in choosing courses. Yung bata ayaw mag-concentrate sa kanyang kurso kasi hindi niya choice yun. Okay? It's the same with reading. We could not force the child to read that one if ayaw niya. We have to give the chance to our students or our children the chance to choose what they want to read. Okay? If the teacher would always give difficult lessons, when we say difficult lessons, yung hindi nababagay sa grade level ng bata. Halimbawa, you are teaching grade 3 students, tapos yung pinapabasa mo sa kanya ay pang grade 7 na reading material. Definitely, yung mindset ng bata, sasabihin niya, ay, mahirap palang magbasa. At dahil nahihirapan akong magbasa, ayoko nang magbasa. Okay? Ng bata. Next, if the teacher practices frequent individual work, individual lahat, no? Walang collaboration, walang pair activity, meaning there is isolation. Na-isolate yung bata, no? Parang yung bata mag-isa lang siya sa classroom kasi individual work yung palaging binibigay ni teacher. Then the child would develop na hindi ko pala ito magagawa with others, no? I could not relate to other classmates. Hindi ako makaka-relate sa kanila. And the last one, if there is a disconnected units, ibig sabihin walang theme, no? Hindi nagkakasundo-sundo lahat ng mga subject areas, meaning there is mastery avoidance. And because there is mastery avoidance, walang understanding na magte-take place, no? Walang magiging they cannot make meaning out of what they are reading. So yun yung mangyayari if we undermine motivation. Ladies and gentlemen who are joining with me live right now on Facebook, again, it is essential, it is vital when we want to develop independent readers, we have to consider motivation, because motivation is one of the key components in developing reading. Let's move on. And since we are talking about this one, we have to integrate this what we so-called as the unfoldment theory. Ibig sabihin, yung bata, in this theory, yung bata ay mayroong natural unfolding of the mind based on his curiosity and interest. Sinabi ko nga kanina, hindi natin mapipilit yung bata na magbasa if it's not with his or her interest. Anchor dito yan sa unfoldment theory. Sabi ng unfoldment theory, mayroong natural unfolding of the mind yung bata based on his or her that opportunity. We will give them reading materials all about animals, and then we inject lessons out from that one. Okay? Because that is of his interest. Alangan naman bibigyan natin ng ibang reading material yung bata if it's not with his or her interest. Nawawala yung tinatawag natin doon na motivation. Let's move on. Sabi nga ni Rousseau, if children were forced to learn information about which they were not interested, learning would be impeded. Hindi natin mapipilit yung bata kapag ayaw niya o hindi niya gusto. As reading teachers, as reading parents, we have to acknowledge ano yung interest ng bata o ano yung interest or yung curiosity ng mga students ko. And out from that, igagrab natin yung opportunity na doon tayo magdudwell and then doon tayo mag-i-integrate ng mga lessons natin. Okay. Next component is what we call the reading fluency. When we talk about fluency, it is the ability to read a text accurately, quickly, and with expression. Reading fluency is important because it provides a bridge between word recognition and comprehension. Kumbaga, word recognition dito yung comprehension, yung nagbe-bridge ng dalawa ay si reading fluency. Kaya kung mapapansin natin kapag yung bata ay hindi fluent magbasa, chances are hindi niya maiintindihan yung binabasa niya. Kasi nga nakakat hindi accurate word recognition. Yung pagbabasa ng bata, dapat accurate yon. Halimbawa, kapag yung salita is dad, dapat dad din yung pagbasa niya, hindi magiging bad. It should be accurate word recognition. Automaticity. Ibig sabihin, dapat pag makita ng bata yung word, automatic lalabas sa kanyang bibig yung pagbabasa ng word na ipinakita. Mayroong problema sa fluency if pag pinapabasa natin yung bata, sa stutter pa yung bata. Halimbawa, pinapabasa mo siya sa salitang potato. If the child is fluent, there is automaticity na potato yung nakikita niya sa pisara o yung sa reading material. Pero pag may problema yung bata sa fluency, yung mangyayari sa bata, parang naglalag yung bata, meaning there is a problem in fluency. The last key component of fluency is what we call the appropriate rhythm and intonation of speech. Masasabi natin na fluent yung bata sa pagbabasa if and only if mayroong rhythm yung pagbabasa ng bata. Hindi monotonous. Bakit hindi monotonous? Kasi feel ng bata yung binabasa niya, naiintindihan niya yung binabasa niya, mayroong emosyon doon kasi nga naiintindihan niya. Mayroong intonation. Bakit mayroong intonation? Kasi na-acknowledge ng bata yung kahulugan o ibig sabihin ng mga punctuation marks. Yung bata kapag hindi niya alam yung mga punctuation marks, tuloy-tuloy lang yan. Walang pause yan, walang stop yan. Walang full stop na mangyayari sa pagbabasa. Okay? And kapag meron tayong mga bata na ganito, definitely they have problems in fluency, and that we have to address the fluency of our learners or our children. Ito yung mga red flag. When we say red flag, ito yung mga palatandaan na may mga problema yung mga bata natin as far as the component fluency is concerned. Para sa mga parents who are watching with us right now, ito yung mga perspective ninyo sa bahay ninyo. Ito yung mga tandaan ninyo o tingnan ninyo sa mga kabataan ninyo o yung children ninyo. Ito yung mga red flag kapag may problema yung bata sa fluency. Una, child knows how to read words but seems to take a long time to read a short book or passage silently. 1 page lang pero aabot ng ilang minuto yung bata na magbabasa. May problem sa fluency yan. Okay? Pangalawa, child reads a book with no expression. Monotonous yung pagbabasa ng bata. The child stumbles a lot and loses his place when reading something aloud. Yung halimbawa ko kanina, yung potato, no? Palaging nagsastumble, nagre-repeat, hindi agad, walang automaticity sa pagbasa. Okay? Red flag yan na may problema yung anak mo when it comes to fluency. And the last one is when the child reads aloud very slowly. Okay? Slow yung pacing ng pagbabasa ng bata. There is a problem with fluency. For teachers naman, ano yung magiging red flags natin in school? Okay? Teacher's perspective in school na mayroong problema as far as fluency yung mga bata natin sa ating classroom. Una, child's results on word correct per minute assessments are below grade level or targeted benchmark. Meron tayo sa DepEd, meron tayong reading tool dito na mini-measure natin ilang words per minute yung nababasa ng bata, correctly uttered words ng bata. And then we assess, halimbawa 50 lang yung nabasa na tama ng bata in 1 minute. Tapos yung bata is already grade 10. Below na yun sa level. Meaning may problema siya sa fluency. Okay? Next, if the child has difficulty and grows frustrated when reading aloud, either because of speed or accuracy. Lalo na itong mga bata na medyo young adult na, yung medyo matatanda na, nagiging na yan sila nagiging conscious na yan sila. Pag hindi sila marunong magbasa, nahihiya na yan, no? Nagiging frustrated na yan sila. Okay? Next, is one thing na makikita natin if may problema ang bata sa fluency. Expression is necessary when we talk about fluency. Next, when reading, child doesn't pause at meaningful breaks within sentences or paragraphs. Mayroon tayong mga bata in school na nagbabasa continuously. Hindi na-acknowledge yung purpose ng comma o yung period, yung full stop. If meron tayong mga bata na ganyan, there is a problem with fluency. Sir, tuloy-tuloy naman yung pagbabasa niya. Yes, tuloy-tuloy yung pagbabasa niya, but it doesn't mean fluent na siya. Na-acknowledge ba niya yung mga punctuation marks sa binabasa niya? Kasi reading doesn't only entail the letter sounds or the combination of the letter sounds. It also entails the punctuation marks, even spaces. Okay. So, having all these red flags sa fluency, ano ba yung magagawa natin as parents and as teachers? Ito yung mga suggested activities. For parents, what you can do to develop fluency among your children, number 1, you support and encourage your child. That's part of motivation. Check with your child's teachers to find out their assessment of reading. Very nice ito. As parents, you should communicate with the teachers of your children. Hindi ibig sabihin yan na sinend mo na yung bata o pinag-aral mo na yung bata, wala ka ng communication with the teacher. As parents, you have to establish relationship with the teachers of your child. No? From time to time, magtanong ka, teacher, kumusta ba yung reading skill ng bata ko? No? Kumusta ba, fluent na ba siyang magbasa? Okay? Yan yung isa sa mga pwede nating magawa as parents to develop fluency among our children. Number 3, let the child reading aloud and having your child match his voice to yours. No? We encourage the child to read aloud. Kung ayaw niya o kung hindi niya makuha-kuha pa, model it. As parent, we have to model it first. No? Okay, how to read this word? Follow me. Okay? With the listening skill of the child, mafa-follow niya o ma-imitate niya kahit yung intonation mo, kahit yung expression mo kung paano ka magbasa. Okay? Fourth, having your child practice reading the same list of words, phrases, him the list of words, teach him the basic sight words, and then teach that one to the child every day. Repetition, the power of repetition, until such time na magiging automatic na yung pagbabasa ng bata kapag makita niya yung word na yan o yung mga titik na yan o mga letters na yan. Next, as parents, we have to remind our children to pause between sentences and phrases. No? We have to teach also the functions of the copy. Meron tayong tinatawag na ngayon na audiobook, yung pinapakinggan habang binabasa. Okay? So isa din yan sa mga pwede nating ibigay na activity sa ating mga bata if we want to develop fluency among our children. For teachers naman, we assess the students to make sure that word decoding or word recognition. Okay? I-assess muna natin yung bata. Fluency ba talaga yung problema ng bata? That's why hindi siya marunong magbasa? Or maybe doon siya nagkakaroon ng problema sa vocabulary. Hindi naman talaga sa fluency. So as teachers, we have to make sure kung ano talaga yung problema ng bata at doon natin bibigyan ng intervention. Give the student independent level text that he or she can practice again and again. Okay? Ask the student to match his or her voice to yours. Yon, modeling din yon. Basahin muna ni teacher, one sentence, ipaparepeat sa bata, mai-imitate ng bata yon. Even the way how you pronounce the words, the way how you give intonation and rhythm to reading the whole sentences or the paragraph. Read a short passage and then have the student immediately read it back to you. Yon, modeling din yon. Incorporate timed, repeated readings into your instructional repertoire. Sa DepEd, meron tayong tinatawag na Project DEAR o yung tinatawag natin na drop everything and read, usually every morning. Okay, we have to practice that one. Buhayin natin yan. Okay? It's an example of timed repeated reading every day para yung mindset ng bata ay 7:30 na, time na para magbasa ako. Okay? We have to instill that one on the minds of the children na pag aabot na tayo sa time na ito, we have to drop everything and read. Okay? And of course, the last one, practice. Okay? We give our students the chance to practice on their own. No? Practice makes perfect, ika nga nila. With that said, this theory would help our learners, our children, to become fluent in reading. Ano ba itong theory na naka-incorporate dito sa fluency? Mamamaster ng bata, the child can be mastered with this fluency if we apply mental discipline theory. Mental discipline theory, as proposed by Plato and Aristotle, it says the central idea of the MDT or the mental discipline theory is that the mind, envisioned as a non-physical substance, lies dormant until it is exercised. Ibig sabihin, yung mind natin, dormant yan, walang ginagawa yan kapag hindi natin ini-exercise. Faculties of the mind such as memory, will, reason, and perseverance are the muscles of the mind. And just like our muscles, kapag gusto nating i-boost yung muscle natin o i-develop yung muscle natin, we have to exercise. It's similar with our minds or the minds of the children. Kapag gusto nating mahasa yung bata in terms of fluency in reading, then we have to apply this theory. We give more exercises. We let our students, our children practice until such time that they develop fluency. That is why in this time of pandemic, learning should not be impeded. Hindi ibig sabihin na may pandemic ngayon, wala nang pasok, wala nang learning. Talagang walang pasok, yes, walang physical na magaganap, but it doesn't mean that there would be no learning activities already to be given to our learners. Hindi po. We should continue. Why? Based on the mental discipline theory, i-exercise natin, hasain natin yung minds ng mga bata para magiging kabisado na sila. There would be automaticity. Okay? That is why the Department of Education Secretary Briones said once on her interview, sabi niya, education cannot wait. No? Hindi ibig sabihin na may pandemic, mag-stop yung education, yung tinatawag natin na academic freeze. Hindi naman ibig sabihin na continuous yung education ngayon kahit may pandemic, we put the lives of our children or our students at stake. Remember, number one talaga na priority ngayon is the health of our learners. No? Merong mga different modalities ang ginagawa. The third component is what we call comprehension. Ito, very common ito. Ang daming research about comprehension. Ang daming action researches about comprehension. Okay? When we talk about comprehension, it is the understanding and interpretation of what is read. Naintindihan ba ng bata yung binabasa niya? If naintindihan niya, well and good. Magaling yung comprehension level ng bata. Pero pag hindi niya naintindihan yung binabasa niya, then there is a problem with the reading comprehension of the child or our children. Okay? Comprehension is the ultimate objective of reading. Yun yung talaga yung pinaka-ultimate objective natin eh. Bakit pinapabasa yung bata? Para alam niya, ma-develop yung comprehension niya. Mayroong understanding and interpretation pagkatapos magbasa ng bata. Comprehension is the reconstruction of meaning and producing independent readers. Ito yung main aim natin eh, magkaroon ng independent readers. Now, when we talk about comprehension, ang daming strategies how to develop comprehension. Just like what I have said a while ago, hindi pwedeng we just have to pick specific strategy and then apply that one in the teaching of reading comprehension. No. On the next slide, you can see here the repertoire. Okay, you can see here the repertoire of strategies. Hindi ibig sabihin na pipili ka ng strategy in developing reading comprehension. No. We have to understand the repertoire of strategies in developing reading comprehension. Merong level yan eh. Starting off with the low literal strategy or comprehension level. No? Literal yung tinatawag natin doon. Next, higher than the literal is what we call the inferential. And then next, yung higher naman na order is what we call the evaluative strategies. Hindi ibig sabihin na, pipili na ako directly sa synthesizing o kaya doon sa summarizing and paraphrasing. No. That's already higher level. That's already evaluative level. Yung bata mo, hindi pa nga kabisado when it comes to reading comprehension. We will begin first at the low level, which is the literal. And then gradually, pupunta tayo sa inferential level na strategy, and then aabot tayo doon sa tinatawag natin na higher order, yung tinatawag natin na evaluative strategy in the teaching of reading comprehension. Okay, since we're talking about gradual, no? Gradual release. Next slide would be talking about the scaffolding reading, no? We scaffold upang maabot yung rurok ng tagumpay ng mga bata when it comes to reading comprehension. We cannot give activities to our learners, yung higher level activities na if they have not yet established the lower level activities. As teachers, we need to scaffold the activities of our learners. Dahan-dahan yan. It's like building a house. Hindi ibig sabihin na mag-uuna tayo, we will build the third floor of our house bago natin i-build yung first floor. Hindi po. Build muna tayo sa ground floor. Saka tayo patungo sa ilang floors yung gusto nating i-build. Okay? Scaffolding, we have mentioned a while ago about scaffolding. Scaffolding is or was introduced to us by this psychologist, the Mozart of psychology, by the person of Sir Lev Vygotsky. Sir Lev Vygotsky introduced scaffolding. Scaffolding refers to a variety of instructional techniques used to move students progressively. Dahan-dahan yung progress ng bata towards stronger understanding and ultimately greater independence in the learning process. Ano ba yung pinaka-aim natin? Bakit tayo nagtuturo sa mga bata paano magbasa? To let them or to make them independent readers. Di ba? Pero bago natin sila, before we can consider them as independent readers, there are lots of activities along the way. Okay? Gradual release yan. Next. Ito yung tinatawag natin na graphic organizer talking about gradual release of responsibility. Kung makikita po ninyo dito sa left side, sa itaas, ito po yung role ng teacher. Dito naman sa baba, ito yung role ng student. Okay? Itong sa center, ito yung degree of control. In the first part of teaching, yung tinatawag natin na modeling. Okay? Sa modeling, of course, teacher will do most of the task. Okay? Yung bata, nag-o-observe lang yan kay teacher na nagmo-model. Kung paano mino-model ng teacher, yun yung i-imitate ng bata. On the sharing part naman, nag-gradual increase na yung activity ng bata o yung role ng bata. Yung role naman ng teacher, nagiging kakaunti na. Okay? Kasi nga, binibigyan natin ng chance yung bata na sila naman to work independently. Sa guiding naman, mayroong progress na more na yung activity or role ng bata compared to the teacher. And much more when we talk about the last part, which is applying. Okay? Of course, in the application process, talagang yung percentage of work nanggagaling na sa bata. Kay teacher naman, hindi siya mawawala. Andun pa rin si teacher. But the teacher there in the applying part is just giving support, encouragement, to the students whenever necessary. Very sparring na lang yung activity ng teacher in the application part. And since we are talking about gradual release, we also talk about or we consider also about constructivism. In the constructivist viewpoint, learning occur when individuals integrate new knowledge with the existing knowledge. Learning can occur when the learners are actively engaged. Talagang binold ko yan. Constructivism, active engagement of the learners are necessary. Kung gusto mong i-follow ang theory ng constructivism, then we give tasks to our learners wherein they would be engaged actively. Hindi yung ikaw na lang palagi yung bida sa classroom. No? We give the chance na yung students naman yung ibibida natin sa classroom. Yung tanging task ng teacher na lamang after modeling ay yung facilitation na lamang. Okay? On this slide deck, 30-70%. Okay? Ito yung ratio ng teacher input to learner action. 30% lang talaga si teacher nag-i-input sa mga bata. And then the rest of the work would be for the students. Yan yung ibig sabihin ng active engagement. 70, more of the works of the students to be done. Next, the fourth component is what we call vocabulary. Vocabulary development is the enrichment and extension of students' word knowledge and understanding. It plays a fundamental role in the reading process. Ang daming studies, ang daming researches na nagsasabi or yung results nagsasabi na there is a positive relationship between vocabulary and reading comprehension. The more rich yung vocabulary ng bata, the more chances na magaling mag-comprehend yung bata sa binabasa nila. Ito yung mga red flags for parents who are joining with us right now. Ito yung mga red flags o ito yung mga palatandaan na may problema yung mga bata natin when it comes to vocabulary. Ito, tandaan natin ito. Number one, if the child is unable to tell about her day in a way that makes sense, no? Yung bata, hindi niya masyadong ma-utter kung ano yung nangyari sa kanya ngayong araw na to. No, that's why we encourage our parents who are listening right now, from time to time, before the day ends, ask your child or your children, "Oy, kumusta yung buhay mo ngayon? Can you tell me what happened to you for the whole day?" Especially yung mga working parents natin na naiiwan yung mga children sa bahay. When we go home, let us give time to talk with our children. No? Ask them, "How are you today? Ano yung mga nangyari sa iyo buong araw?" Okay? If yung bata hindi masyadong nakaka-utter o hindi masyadong nakaka-share sa pangyayari niya sa buong araw, red flag yan, no? Posibleng hindi nakakashare yung bata kasi nga low level lang yung vocabulary niya. If the child misuses common words, eto, no? Kapag misuse yung paggamit ng mga words ng bata, red flag din yan na may problema yung bata when it comes to vocabulary. If the child doesn't link words from a book to similar words from another book or from real life, okay? Pag hindi marunong yung bata na magli-link from a word taken from one book to another book, medyo may problema dyan when it comes to vocabulary development. If the child is often not able to find the right word to describe something, okay? Try nito, parents at home, okay? Try to let your child view a picture, no? Patingin mo yung picture sa bata, tapos sabihin mo o tanungin mo sa bata, can you describe the picture? Kapag yung bata marunong mag-describe, maraming mga words na lalabas sa kanyang bibig, meaning rich yung vocabulary ng bata mo. Okay? But if the child is not able to find the right word to describe that picture, then something is wrong. Okay? Ito yung mga palatandaan. For teachers naman, if the child has questions about a lot of word meanings in a grade-appropriate text, no? In my own experience, ang daming mga bata, especially pag reading activity na, ang daming mga bata magsasabi o magtatanong sa akin, Sir, anong ibig sabihin nito? Sir, what does this mean? Okay? So, alam ko naman na the word is very simple, yet they don't know the meaning. Oy, something is wrong with their vocabulary. Okay? Red flag ito. Child seems to have a weak vocabulary. Child is not able to make connections among words in various texts. Child is often not able to find the right word to describe something. Pareho din dun sa parents. Okay? Ito yung mga red flags o mga palatandaan na may problema yung mga bata natin in school or at home when it comes to vocabulary is concerned. What parents can do? Ano yung magagawa ng mga parents to develop vocabulary among our children at home? Una, engage your child in conversations every day. Kausapin mo yung bata. Talk to the child, okay? So that the child could also learn something, new words from you. Okay? Read to your child each day. Napakahalaga nito. Later on, we will talk about a theory about this one. No? Read to your child a story every day. Iilan na lang ba sa mga parents natin ngayon at home yung nagbabasa sa mga bata before bedtime? Di ba? It's one way sana to develop, it's an opportunity to develop the culture of reading at home. Kasi sa bahay talaga nag-uumpisa yung kultura ng pagbabasa eh. Hindi sa school. It starts from home. Okay? Help build word knowledge by classifying and grouping objects or pictures while naming them. Ito mga games na ito. Play word games, Scrabble, no? It's good to buy toys, no? But let us also acknowledge these word games. Scrabble or yung tinatawag natin na word factory, maganda yan, no? To develop the vocabulary of our children at home. Encourage your child to read on his own. The more children read, the more words they encounter and learn. Okay? Talagang mayroong o maraming vocabulary yung bata na nagbabasa compared dun sa bata na ayaw magbasa. What teachers can do to develop vocabulary among their students in school? Help build language skills in class by playing oral and written word exercises and games. Yon, Scrabble, okay? Or yung mga jumbled letters, tapos magfo-form sila ng iba't ibang words. That's building vocabulary. Offer word for the day activity. Sa school namin, meron kaming word of the day. In every classroom talaga yan. In their bulletin board, meron talagang word of the day. O yung iba, word for the week. Okay? And then weekly pinapalitan yon. That's one way to teach vocabulary among our learners in school. Have students use taught vocabulary words often and in various ways. Kung yung mga word of the day natin sa school or yung word of the week for the week, dapat we allow the students to use these words, no? In writing or in speaking. Help students learn to use context clues, no? Yon. Napakahalaga yung teaching of context clues to know the meaning of the difficult words out from the context. Explicitly teach the meanings of common prefixes, root words, and suffixes. ito yung tinatawag natin na word formation, di ba? Magkakaroon tayo ng vocabulary development if we also teach our children or our students about the affixes and the root words. Reader's response theory. Ito yung naka-anchor na theory dito sa vocabulary. This reader response theory, this was introduced by Louis Rosenblatt in 1978. She argued that every reader has different schema due to experiences. Iba't iba yung mga pagkakaintindi ng mga readers, ng mga bata sa isang story. Bakit? Kasi iba't iba yung schema na pinagdadaanan nila. Iba't iba yung experiences nila. Therefore, reading experience is unique to every individual. Kaya nagiging iba't iba din yung interpretation ng mga bata. Lalo na kapag yung bata rich in vocabulary compared dun sa bata na very poor in vocabulary. Talagang magmamatter yan. Okay? Let us take this for example. Meron tayong dalawang students. Student A and Student B. Dito si Student A, dito sa left side of our screen, is a ninth grader. Both of them are ninth grader. Itong si Student A, walang experience about falling in love. Meaning, single siya. No boyfriend since birth. NBSB si Student A. Si Student B naman ay mayroon siyang experience about falling in love. Okay? And then, the teacher said, okay, you read Romeo and Juliet. Definitely, maraming masishare si Student B. Kasi nga, na-experience niya yun eh. Compared to Student A. But the question is, do we rate or do we give low grades to Student A compared to Student B? Well, let me answer that one with this slide. There are two kinds of responses to text. Number one, we call that one as the efferent response or the fact-oriented response. And the other one is what we call the aesthetic response or the personal or emotional-based response. Okay? Hindi ibig sabihin na ito lang yung level ng comprehension ni student A kasi wala pa siyang masyadong experience, wala siyang masyadong ma-share about this one, bibigyan natin siya ng fair na grade compared to student B. We have to acknowledge these two kinds of responses. Okay? Next. The last component is what we call the phonological awareness or phonics. Phonological awareness or phonics is phonological awareness is the ability to recognize, combine, and manipulate the different sounds of spoken words, while phonics is the relationships between the letters or written language and the sounds of spoken language. Parents' perspective. Ito yon, mga red flags ito na may problema yung bata natin when it comes to phonics or phonological awareness. Child has difficulty thinking of rhyming words, no? Hindi masyadong nakakabigay ng yung bata ng rhyming words. Child doesn't show interest in language play. Wala siyang interest doon sa mga word plays, no? Parati na lang airplane o kaya mga Lego yung nilalaro ng bata. Teacher's perspective, if the child doesn't correctly complete blending activities, hindi nako-connect ng bata yung letter sounds. Something is wrong there. Child doesn't correctly complete phoneme substitution. Okay? Halimbawa, yung salita na mate, i-change mo lang yung letter M into C and R to create the word crate. No? Pag hindi na niya mababasa yon kahit isang letter lang yung pinalitan mo, then something is wrong with the phonological awareness and the phonics of the child. Child has a hard time telling how many syllables there are in the word paper. No? Hindi na-acknowledge ng child ilang syllable yung word na ibinigay ni teacher. And then the child has difficulty with rhyming, syllabication, or spelling. Okay. What parents can do? Communicate with the teachers, no? Check your child's progress in school, play words or games with dealing with words. For teachers naman, we can teach our children the different sounds. There are more than 40 speech sounds, no? Phonemes. Identify the precise phoneme awareness task. Saan ba talaga mahina yung bata sa pagpropronounce? Anong letter ba yon? Letter sound yon. Doon natin bibigyan ng intervention yung bata. And then consider teaching phonological and phonemic skills in small groups since students will likely be at different levels. Of course, different child, different needs yan. The last theory is what we call the family literacy theory. Talagang in-include ko ito kasi I know that many of our viewers right now are parents. Okay? Let us always develop the culture of reading. And we consider this one with the family literacy theory. Okay? Ibig sabihin, magbabasa yung buong pamilya at home. Kasi nga, it always begins at home. It's not with the school. Sa bahay nag-uumpisa ang lahat. Dinidevelop lang yan sa school. Okay? Yan, mga different texts about this theory. Homes should provide rich reading environments that include books and other reading materials. Tingnan niyo yung bahay ninyo. Marami bang mga opportunities for the children to read, mga reading materials? Family members serve as models of involvement in literacy activities. No? May role si mama at saka si papa dyan. Parents of successful readers most often are involved at school and seek information about their children's literacy development. Okay, so that would be the end of my slide, but it doesn't mean I am done because there is something good. I mean, I have good news for you guys, ladies and gentlemen who are joining with me right now via Facebook Live. Why? Because Vibal Group is offering this what we so-called as Learn at Home. In this time of pandemic, hindi ibig sabihin niya na mai-impede yung learning. Why? Because there are many ways, many activities that we could share to our children even at home. And Vibal Group is giving that one to us, to every one of us, absolutely free. Learn at home, the new now of learning experience. So ano ba itong learn at home ng Vibal? Ito talagang si Vibal, ang daming mga naiisip eh. Okay? Learn at home kits. With the Learn at home kits, free na yung academic book, test booklet, activity sheets, supplements, and of course, the Teach at Home guide para malalaman ng parents kung paano gamitin itong pino-provide ni Vibal na Learn at Home kits. Again, uulitin ko, all of these are absolutely free and thank you so much, Vibal, for giving this one or for arriving with this very nice activity you offered to all the Filipino children in this country. Okay, Learn at Home Kit is a free online starter kit. It's free. That contains printable supplements, activity sheets, and test booklets good for 10 weeks of budgeted learning aligned to the curriculum. Ladies and gentlemen, Vibal is not only creating reading materials out of their own, but they make sure, Vibal Group is making it sure that the reading activities or the learning activities that you can find in the Learn at Home kits are aligned with the Department of Education's K-12 curriculum. Isn't that amazing? Thank you so much, Vibal, for that one. Okay, what does the Learn at Home kit offer? Vibal's Learn at Home kit covers English, Filipino, Araling Panlipunan, Science, and Mathematics, the 5 core learning areas. And again, it is absolutely free. And take note, reading must be across content areas. Vibal did not fail us with that one. Kasi nga, as I've scanned the Learn at Home kits of Vibal, ang dami-daming reading materials across learning areas, especially on the supplement part. Thank you so much, Vibal, for that one. And again, the activities found in this Learn at Home kits provided by Vibal is aligned with the DepEd's K-12 curriculum. And it is available in both print and digital version. Wow, iba talaga si Vibal. What's inside the kit? Yung sinabi ko kanina, the test booklet, activity sheets, supplements, ang daming reading materials under supplements, parents guide kung paano gagamitin yung kit, and then the activity books. Ayan, yan yung mga picture ng mga makikita natin sa Learn at Home kit ni Vibal. Yan. Okay? Paano ba gamitin o paano ba i-access yung Learn at Home kit ng Vibal? Just simply log into vibalgroup.com/learnathome. Again, that is vibalgroup.com/learnathome. And then choose from the educational materials. Teach at Home guide, supplement, activity sheets, test booklet, and academic book. And then you have choices. Primary for grades 1 to 3, intermediate for grades 4 to 6, and secondary for grades 7 to 10. And then kapag na-choose mo na yon, simply click download. And there you go. Vibal, the Learn at Home kit is within your hands. So that would be all for tonight. Thank you so much for joining me once again. for this another fruitful evening with Vibal Group Learn at Home series. Ayon. Thank you so much. Do we have any question?
Sir. Thank you very much. Now we will proceed to the question and answer portion po. Okay, first
Yes.
question is from
Yes, Miss Jillian.
Nunez. Would there
Melissa
be a
Nunez,
problem?
yes.
Would there be a problem now in identifying students who have difficulty in ready now that we are going to conduct our online class?
Can you say that again, Miss Jillian?
Would there be a problem in identifying students who have difficulty in reading now that we are going to conduct our class online?
Nagiging choppy po. Sorry, Miss Jillian. Paulit-ulit.
Would there be a problem now in identifying students who have difficulty in reading now that we are going to conduct our class online?
Okay. Definitely, ito yung suggestion ko. I hope this will help to the one who asked this one. Every year naman sa school, nagkakaroon naman tayo ng identification dun sa mga bata when it comes to the reading level. Okay? Halimbawa, I am grade 8 teacher. So titingnan ko yung record ng bata sa grade 7. Kasi pre-reading activity at saka post-reading test naman sila. Titingnan ko yung record ng grade 7, ifo-forward yan sa grade 8, and then as a reading teacher ng grade 8, doon ko ma-identify na, itong bata na to may problema siya in reading. So I would give mechanism or different reading materials perhaps to this child kasi iba yung reading level niya. Or another thing that I would like to suggest is that now more than ever, we should build a strong relationship between the teachers and the parents at home. Parents, if may problema yung bata ninyo in reading, never hesitate to ask the teacher or inform the reading teacher or kung sino man yung teacher niya to help you or guide you on what would be the other mechanism to develop the reading skill of your children. Yun po, Miss Jillian.
Thank you for that, sir. Our next question is from Edwin Gallardo. How can we apply the online learning if there is always a technical problem in our connection, especially if all educators will use an online teaching?
Okay, thank you so much, Sir Edwin, for that question. Paano gagamitin yung online? Marami tayong problema when it comes to internet connection or yung technicality. Sir Edwin, when we talk about online, meron naman tayong tinatawag na synchronous and asynchronous, di ba? We have to vary that one. We have to maximize that one. Kung talagang medyo gusto mong magpakita ng video sa kanila tapos nagiging choppy yung video kasi nga mahina yung internet connection, then we may send copy to them para anytime pwede nilang mapanood yan. Not in a synchronous way, but in an asynchronous way. Next, please.
And for our last question from TJF James, how about if the parents don't know how to write and read?
Oh, yun. Number 1 talaga yan na tanong ngayon, ano? Paano kung yung mga parents natin hindi din sila mismo hindi marunong magbasa? Okay, number 1, maybe I would like to suggest that one na talagang yung parents how can you help me with this one so that the teacher could address that one, okay? Or kapag yung parent talaga is nahihiya, then in the very first assessment pa lang, makikita na yan ni teacher kapag may problema na, ang dami ng mga mali-mali ni student kasi hindi siya marunong magbasa. Then that's the time the teacher may address that one or give appropriate activities to enhance the reading. Nahihirapan talaga tayo, especially in this time of pandemic eh.
Thank you
yes,
so
Miss
much
Jillian.
for that, sir. That's all the questions we have for now. Any last reminders to our viewers for today, sir?
Actually, not last words, but perhaps I would like to give challenge, Miss Jillian, to our viewers right now. The challenge is, ang daming mga batang Pilipino ngayon, even hindi yung mga bata, not only the kids, even the adults. There are a lot of Filipinos now who are non-readers. My challenge is, let us join forces. Join me with my advocacy in the teaching of reading so that one day we will wake up knowing that we have addressed the problem of the Philippines, which is the reading comprehension. Yun po.
Thank you so much, sir. There we have it. In behalf of Vibal Group Incorporated, I would like to thank our speaker for today for this very insightful and eye-opening learning session. It is an honor to have you with us today, sir. And to all our Kavibal viewers, all thanks to you for your continuous patronage to our daily learning session. Muli, maraming salamat at magandang araw sa ating lahat.
Thank you po.